And I appear to be live. Looks like it's working. Cool. Welcome to Vlog Thursday 161 morning, talking server upgrades and all kinds of fun stuff. That is part of the topic. Something else I'm going to ramble on about is, we'll start with Twitter. And this BS. This is part of the reason I'm late, because someone was wrong on the internet. And, you know, if there's someone wrong on the internet, you got to do something about it, I think. Isn't that how that works? So we'll start there. I'm drinking coffee. Coffee and hot sauce don't go together, so I'm skipping the hot sauce for now. I will be having probably some hot sauce for breakfast, but I'm certainly not having any right this moment while I'm drinking my coffee in the morning. So, but I will mention, I'll mention some hot sauce real quick. Let me find one. We just ordered some more, and we found one we liked. What was that one we just got? Drag it. Man, there's so many things we ordered. We just got this new hot sauce. So I'll at least mention the new hot sauce. Or at least something spicy. You know, we love these stupid things. I'll mention these. This is, like, really good. They actually have it as a hot challenge, and it's not a hot challenge. We just purchased 2 more times. We buy this in bulk on there. Instant ramen noodles, spicy stir-fried chicken flavor. It's supposed to be super hot, and then we add a bunch of hot to it. Like, we think it's funny that people do this as a challenge, and we're like, no, we keep adding hot to it as well. It's actually pretty good. Stir-fried noodle. So I mentioned that. That's the spicy thing, but I'm not eating spice. Like I said, coffee and spice just, they don't go together. They don't taste good together. How's that? Anyways, the link will be in the description below. So, yeah, hot sauce and coffee are different. Very different things. They don't go together. No, my rant right this very moment is this stupidity. Hacker stuck tape on a 2-inch strip of 35-mile-per-hour speed sign and successfully tricked 2 Teslas into accelerating. They haven't used that since 2014. So they found some really old, out-of-date Teslas that use the MI system to read stop signs. Well, not read stop signs, I'm sorry, read speed limit signs. They only had that very briefly in the earliest Teslas. They got rid of it for these exact reasons, and it just wasn't accurate trying to read signs. So they don't read signs anymore. They haven't read signs in a long time because they use Google SatNav data to do GPS. But it's my comment on here is when you get the news for free, they're monetizing your views, and their bias is to keep you engaged, not informed. And this is one of the problems with a lot of the crap that these places put out. And, on Facebook, people were tagging me in this post, and I'm like, why are you tagging me in this, man? It's bull. It's a bunch of bull. I'm not going to swear on this particular channel, but yeah, it was one of those stupid things that I was like, really, this is I don't know. Business Insider's apparently going downhill. They really need some clickbait going on. So maybe I should contact the author and say, really, did you need some clickbait today? Tech reporter, we'll tweet her. Your story sucks. I'm sorry. You're generic human person with generic interests. Tech reporter at Business Insider UK. Your reporting is awful. But I bet she's not paid. I'm sorry, because that's the way a lot of these work. They're like, hey, we'll get you exposure. I could rant about that for quite a while. We'll get you exposure by rating for us for free. That's always a common problem. So my guess would be, did she even tweet this out that she wrote it? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, she's not proud enough to even tweet it out. Anyways, I'll quit ranting about that. There we go. All right. Okay, enough ranting. Well, let's talk technology. All right, closing that. Let's see. What else did I even say I was going to talk about? Server upgrades. Let's start there. So now you're right. I'm just going to ramble on. Tech Supply Direct, our friends over here. We have new servers coming, and this comes up a lot. This was actually, and we'll go over to the forums because someone brought this up in the forums as well. Oh, right here. Well, this one too. I'll review later. Oh, they're Ethernet. So are they Ethernet or InfraBand? I can actually answer this question right now. They are Ethernet. There. I'll fire it up and get the details later. I put the details in the video, so they can watch the video. That's always funny is a lot of people, I'll watch the video later. I get so many questions, and that's where my comment came from, where I had said, I wish people had to watch the video before they commented. So many of the comments on YouTube, and I try to reply to them, but they become useless because there's so many commenters not saying anything relevant. They just ask questions that I literally answer in a video because they don't want to take the time to watch a 20-minute video where I explain everything in detail. They just want the answer to the question they have without watching the video, and that's usually what the comment is. Hey, what card is in it? Well, I say that in the video when I talk about the hardware details, but they don't want to wait for the end of the video. So I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that people. I don't know. It's not that I'm aggravated by it, but it kind of hurts me to try to say I want to reply to all the YouTube comments, and then they become very, very difficult to reply to on there. Anyways, Power Edge R630 10 bay. So these are nice, and we've got some new servers coming. We're actually going to be doing, so full disclosure, they're a sponsor of the channel. We have offer codes that get you 10% off. They're one of the affiliate links we do have below. But these little smaller form factor ones is what we're moving to. We're finally going to upgrade some of our own infrastructure because it's really old, but it works so well. It just, nothing's broke on it. That's why I like using it. But we're looking at some of these, and we're going with the 1U form factors because we don't have any add-in cards. And these are pretty reasonably priced. We're actually probably going to go with 640s. They're going to have them pretty soon. I was just on the phone with them the other day. They're going to have some 640s, but the 630s are some really good pricing you can get on these. And you pop in some SAS drives, and away you go. So they're actually SAS SSDs is what we're going to be running on each of the new servers. So really fast, and there are so many good deals on used servers. This is one of those things that people, when you want to break down how to get some of the best bang for your buck, if you buy some of these newer off-lease servers that are really not that old, you know what I mean? They're condition refurbished, but we have for clients where we can build for what one brand new Dell would cost with a service contract, we can get them multiple servers, have multiple spares, and create a failover HA cluster for less money. So it's crazy how steep the discount is on a used server compared to a new one. Someone says, I know you're Linux heavy, but do you have 80 logins for anything? I'm thinking about dumping my Windows server, not sure which way to go. I don't have 80 logins for anything. We don't use any Active Directory here, 0. So the only thing we use that is any type of management is things we may tie to our G Suite login, because we do use G Suite. And it's actually really commenting on that. So let me pull it up. Follow the Risky Business Podcast, and let's see. Shadow Brokers, Logic Flaws. They had someone they were interviewing. It's not this one. Gas plant. Anyways, maybe it was right here. One of their recent podcasts, there was a good talk about, right here. It's this one. Risky Business episode 571. The thing right here, do you still need to be using AD? And there's actually a lot of big companies I know that have 0 Active Directory. This is one of those things that's hard. Everyone's like, oh no, you're not a real store unless you're running Windows. And I kind of get aggravated with that because if you didn't see, slabs funding. Let me find the article. Here we go. So Hunter Slabs, and here's the CEO, Kyle, which I'm friends with. I know these guys, have hung out with them. I'm usually wearing their shirts. So awesome people. Great. Just received, as the title says, 18 million funding. By the way, they don't have Active Directory either. It's all kinds of big companies and reasonably sized. Okay, 18 million. I don't know. You decide if that's a big company or not. But we see companies all day like this. New companies don't run AD. They go, why would we do that? Why would we build this whole Active Directory BS system? You can build everything online, build remote teams, and unless you're buried into the Azure marketplace with Azure AD and everything else, you can run other systems. So it's one of those things like yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about being end of life with Intel vulnerability and CPU exploit meltdown with these receive updates? Here's the thing. The updates... So this is unpopular opinion, but anyone who's into InfoSec will tell you they're not practical. If you have the level of access you need to exploit my server and to get on my server, to be inside my network, the last way you would try to exfiltrate data is via hammering on the CPU to try to get data across. It's the least likely way to do it. And the hypervisors themselves, one of the things they've been doing inside of, well, I'm using XCP-ng, but other hypervisors as well, they've been mitigating it in the hypervisor by making the changes. So I'm hardly worried about end of life. The CPU microcode updates come through inside of Linux for this. They're just a least likely scenario for the way you get exploited. By the way, it also doesn't concern me because I'm not letting third-party people log into my server and run inside of my server. I run all the stack inside my server. Hence, it's not a vector that's really concerning to me. It's great clickbait headline, and please refer back to my Twitter. Anytime you're reading the news, I want you to think about something. Read this first line. When you get the news for free, they are monetizing your views, and their bias is to keep you engaged, not informed. Read that before you read every article and think about that. Their bias is to keep you engaged, not informed. Spectre Meltdown makes excellent news. Talk to anyone who spends time doing incident response and hacks, and you'll go, I guess that wasn't how they got hacked. It was not Meltdown. It was not Spectre. I've talked to some very big incident response people. I've been trying to find a single individual who's ever seen an attack in the wild using it. It's just, one of the basic things is once you get that deep into someone's network, you have so many better ways to do it. This is the least likely way of Spectre and Meltdown. So it's just kind of an overhyped issue, but it makes for really good headlines because everyone can't stop talking about it. Thank you, Mr. Daughtery, for the donation. It's much appreciated. Yeah, off-lease servers. Yes, that's what's at Tech Supply Direct. Nope, we don't use LDAP. Zentel server, it's okay. It works. Not really. I mean, if you need it, it's just it's mimicking AD, but not fully mimicking AD, but pretty good, I've been told. I don't use it. We've actually fixed it for some people. We had someone contact us that needed help. They're a Linux they are a Windows place, but didn't have Linux experience, but they inherited some Zentel servers and they didn't know how to fix permissions on them. So they contracted us to fix the permissions for them. So that's my experience with Zentel's fixing permissions when an upgrade broke them. But they liked it. It worked. It was for the client they had that using it. Other than the permission problem they had with users, that was they said it worked. So cool. I guess people are happy with it. But for us, we use G Suite. We use the G Suite login for things because you can tie things to G Suite and it works. I don't know. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket appliance. If you want to use a federated access system, most of the stuff we use is web-based, not local. So that's a big piece of that. I'm looking up something. As I have something I'll talk about real quick. Let me verify. So fun doing this. So what I wanted to show, and you can look this up, this is public information, but I did dig Huntress Labs MX records, and this is kind of what I was talking about. Huntress Labs, not that I'm revealing some big secret, they use G Suite, as you can tell. You can do a dig in MX and look up who uses G Suite like this, and you can see that they're using the G Suite records. And that's kind of my point. A lot of companies aren't buried in Microsoft. Old companies can't get rid of it. They love Outlook. They're buried in it. Everyone knows it. Nobody wants to change. But when you dive into it, you'll find a lot of new startups are not starting at the Microsoft world because they realize what a lock-in Microsoft has on things. And when you talk about any type of federated access where you go, okay, I want everything tied to G Suite, G Suite's got a good way of doing it. You can also just build things out in SAML, but it's basically open standards is what they're using to make this happen and facilitate it. And once you do that, you can change how you log in. I mean, obviously you do have to find some central system if you have a lot of employees, if you want to make your life convenient. But for us, the management's so much easier. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Oh, well, yeah, let's like this video. That's always appreciated. I can just drag this over here. Why don't I put this in one of the pins? There we go. So I can read when I'm stopping to read the comments, I'll just stop and read them with you guys. And I'll move my head over here. There we go. So let's see. Yeah, we migrate people back and forth. We've migrated from G Suite to Azure. We've moved our Microsoft Office 365. We've moved a lot of people from Office 365 back over to G Suite. It really depends on what the company's use case is and what their enterprise applications look like. We go both ways on it. We have a split of clients that we support on both of them. Citrix hacked for months. Comments? The old news. We talked about it like months ago. Citrix has been hacked for a long time. That was last year's news. But all those Windows updates, yeah. Yeah, once you start running Linux and you don't deal with those updates no more, you suddenly go, this is better. Would I use roaming profiles? No. I mean, there's people who do. We have clients using it if it's something they need. But Microsoft is kind of eliminating how all that works anyways and making it simpler with their, everything Windows 10 has to be tied to, well, it doesn't have to, but they really strongly encourage tying it to one of the online accounts for things. Matter of fact, this is watch, we'll show how Tom runs Windows. And the only time I run Windows, where'd it go? Here it is. So here's this, and let me fire up my Windows 10 machine. There. This is how I run Windows if I need to. That way, while Windows goes, hey, today is update time for, to inconvenience you greatly right now, we're just going to throw an update in the middle of the day. So, come on. Cool. There's my Windows 10, which probably, because I don't run it all the time, does it have any updates? Because Windows. And the latest round of updates have been tragic. They have been awful. So that's why Windows runs virtualized, because now I don't have to deal with tragic updates. Like, oh, look, my day doesn't have to be disrupted by stupidity of Windows. Yep. No, we don't. Look, the reality is if you need in your enterprise application, and this is the situation a lot of our clients have, their enterprise application uses Active Directory for authentication. Done. That's the end of the story. There's not an option. I'm not going to hack together some solution, because if I hack together some solution using some third-party Active Directory system that mimics Active Directory, it's going to go bad. It's going to require support. Our support rates will exceed any cost savings the client has. A Windows server is pretty cheap. So you throw a Windows box in to manage the you throw a Windows box in to manage the enterprise app. Usually the enterprise app requires running on it. We just set up we have a client that moved. Their consultant, whatever. We just do their IT. Really loves Microsoft Dynamics. We think it's an awful product. Why? Because we've worked with it, and so far we've been proven right. But their consultant has been working with them to get Dynamics all set up. But that's all a Microsoft product. They all want to run it on-prem, and cool. That's what we do. We sold them a server. It's actually from a standpoint of business, the best thing about business is Microsoft creates a lot of it for us, because if they would have just bought some app online, Salesforce or any type of online app, and used a web portal for it, there would have been not all the work we have to do. When you set up Microsoft Dynamics, they have multiple sites. We had to build VPNs, faster VPNs between your sites. We had to set up all the stupid desktop software that Dynamics runs on and get the connections working. We had to sell them a second server just to run the Dynamics database. And they had to buy all the licenses from Microsoft. And it creates busy work for sure. It's not as easy as going, I signed up for a web portal and created users. So whatever. We support that because we make a lot of money with it. But if they were to ask me my opinion, I'm just too honest to say I recommend Windows. Ubiquiti is making a little progress with the USG. Sorry for those that love the Ubiquiti USG. I don't know why you love it, but I also don't understand why you love it, because it just has a lackluster set of features. If it needs anything beyond routing, it just falls flat. And the DPI is damn near useless. So that's a different problem. Is there a reason they don't update their hardware? I don't know. Ubiquiti is a mystery company. They make great Wi-Fi, and I like their switches, and I like the SDN controller. That's what I like from them. They used to make these really cool cameras, and then they dropped support for that software for reasons unknown, and so we don't even recommend their cameras anymore. Yeah, people love the single pane of glass view, but when that pane of glass is opaque. Well, and Willie's got a really good point there. Willie, you are absolutely spot on. They do not need to have a lot of network engineering knowledge to make it work. That is very true. So there's no doubt about that. What cameras do we recommend? We usually use Synology, and we'll use a variety of cameras. The nice thing about the Synology is it supports just about every major camera brand out there. So yeah, that's basically what works really well for us. Shockingly, I guess because I updated yesterday, when I did that demo, I had to open up my Windows box. So for the video I did yesterday. So we'll shut this one down. Windows didn't have any updates. Windows opens at least reasonably fast, but I am running, what is this computer? Nope. Trying to drag the right Windows over here. There we go. This is my, Ryzen 9 12 core, 3.8 gigahertz, and my drives are NVMe. So it's not just, I don't have SSD, I got NVMe. I have a build video on this computer, so that's why it runs Windows so fast. And yes, I do. Yes, I do have a Windows. You know what's cool about Windows XP? How fast it boots. Watch how fast Windows XP boots. This is impressive. And yes, I have a Windows XP machine. I have a couple old things I keep archived in here. It's kind of cool. Oh, it's thinking about the networking. It does pause on that. It just kind of chills for a minute on the network, and then I have a couple clients that occasionally need things, and this is what the Windows XP looks like. Bring back memories. Funny, huh? Wow. We had to do we did an old test for a UniFi controller. I've never bought a new check program, so this actually does the printing on my checks. But we printed so many checks, I never had to fire it up again. Remember when Google Docs had desktop shortcuts? There's the old icons for things. It's kind of funny seeing this. It doesn't actually go online. It just kind of exists here. But it boots up really fast. The only pause it has is on the networking stack. It seems to pause a little bit when it boots, but it works. Windows XP was the last version of... Actually, this virtualized Windows XP was me taking and doing a P2V that long ago. I never used Windows 7. I switched to Linux I went from Windows XP to Linux, and I've been using Linux as my desktop since Windows XP. I only ever ran Windows 7 virtualized on an as-needed basis, mostly for Photoshop back when I was a photographer. And then Windows 10, when Windows 10 came out, this is a fully licensed, as you've seen, Windows 10 that I have running on here. Because occasionally I got to do demos that require Windows, or if I have to run some software that runs in Windows, I do it all right there virtualized. Many of the companies transitioning from bare metal servers to cloud as a service. Is there any impact on your business due to that? No. We do both. We'll set people up in the cloud for people to do that, but there's not really an impact on it. It's a different impact. We definitely are doing less server upgrades because this is an example. We sold the company a really nice server. And this is the long arch of being in business for 17 years. We sold the company the servers in 2007 or 8, whatever it was, a while ago. Nice SQL server to run their business application. It manages their property management company, and they have a Village Management. It's got some weird name like that, like Village Management. Anyways, it's a property management software. It ran on a SQL server. It ran on Windows. We sold them all this fancy stuff, right? Well, it turns out the new version of it is cheaper to run as a service in the cloud. So how did it affect my business? Well, we redid their network infrastructure. We sold them redundant internet connections because it's in the cloud now, and if they don't have an internet connection, they can't do their job. So we lost the opportunity to upgrade their server to the new version of SQL Server and everything else. So it's more of an opportunity loss, so to speak, if you looked at an opportunity to make money on someone because you're selling them a new Windows server to support their application. But it, as a service, was very affordable and made more sense. The big expense of buying a new server versus the monthly fee that was very reasonable by the company. But not every company has a reasonable monthly fee. That's why some of them don't go that way, or they don't want that lock into the cloud because then they start raising prices. So, yeah. So that's probably, I guess, the way I would describe it, but it's not like we're not busy. And you still, just because it's in the cloud, it doesn't necessarily mean they know how to manage it, know how to set it up. We have a company that operates fully in the cloud. Like, they have nothing on-prem, and they got, 100 or so people in the company, and we manage all their desktops. We fix stupid email problems. We fix printer issues. We fix all the other stuff. So we're still making money managing and supporting the company, but most all their enterprise apps are all in the cloud for them, so there's no hardware. So we're probably seeing less servers to administer, but it depends on the business line application, because we have some companies, the carpet companies we support, use this really terrible, tragically bad software that's awful, that requires lots of help. And we make money fixing the server because there is no off-prem version, and hosting in the cloud just doesn't make any sense, because we'd have to, because it's not hosted by the company, we'd have to build infrastructure in the cloud. And why? How does that save them money versus hosting it internally? The cost of running it, unless you put it in a colo, the cost of running it and then managing it remotely means it's not a big cost savings to just virtualize it. Not to mention, the software requires very fast connections because it's so poorly written that if even accessing it over a VPN is bad. So that's... It really comes down to each application. There's not a cookie cutter answer for which ones do or which ones don't. If the software is web-based, that's a very different thing, because it's then designed from the ground up to be run in the cloud. Those applications just naturally end up there. If you have a web-based app, that never really ends up on-prem. because that doesn't make as much sense. You got to think about this. I've said this over and over again. No one is going to build more software for Windows. No one. They aren't. It isn't happening. Everyone is supporting legacy applications, but the next gen of applications are always web-based right now. Every startup, every new company, what are they building? All web-based applications. That's just how it works. So, and there's plenty to do in the cloud. Trust me, there is a ton. My friend does incident response for AWS servers. They're getting hacked in the cloud just like they got hacked on-prem. The same flaws exist whether you stuck it in the cloud or there. So there's still plenty of work to do for us IT people. We just have to look at how we do it differently. Yeah, in the public sector, I can attest to this. We were working on a very large sale related to this, where it's another municipality buying. The quote is for like $170,000 worth of hardware, all to replace it. They don't want to put it in the cloud. It's just not cost effective over long term. They have multiple buildings. They've built redundancies between them. The cloud doesn't make any sense to them. It would cost them way more money than they spend right now. And data is expensive. So another problem people are running into is cloud creep, and that is that's interesting. So cloud creep is the term I like used a lot, and I want to have a discussion with this because I was actually talking to Patrick Kennedy. Falling from the sky, leaving the cloud 5 years later, and he said they've actually probably, conservatively, have saved even more money than he talked about this, and he breaks it down. EC2 costs, AWS EC2 costs versus self-hosting. It's a great article that I really like. And so he was spending $36,000 a year in hosting. I mean, we deal with clients like this that have these big numbers. So he's talking about moving it down to $20,000 a year and saving like $16,000 a year, and it adds up. It's one of those things. The budget is pretty big. So the analysis shows a 42% savings self-hosted. Now, but before you jump on this, Patrick and his team are extremely skilled at building servers and managing them. You have to account. Now, they do account for these costs in there, but it is an important thing to think about. You can't just say, why doesn't everyone self-host? Well, there are a few key factors. There's been a big push to the cloud. Growth profile is aggressive, but extremely manageable. Well, 1,000% annual growth this year would be awesome. And it's also something we can handle our current model with no zero incremental costs. There is so many factors that go into this. This is really important on there. Also, when you talk about that in moving it in and out of the cloud, there's the opposite problem. And that opposite problem I pulled up was Huntress. When you're a company that just received $18 million more in funding and your growth is exponential, you can't buy hardware fast enough. You can't provision and set up and configure hardware. So if you're a fast growth company expecting more growth, it's hard to, without the funding, pre-buy all the hardware. So you have someone like Huntress, they build it out in the cloud because they can just spin up more instances and more compute in the cloud and expand their product. So it's one of those things that it's a very complicated answer. So I don't want to, I can't say it's just one or the other. You have to really take these factors in. This is when I see all these people oversimplifying, just put it in the cloud or just take it out of the cloud or just use on-prem. When you really table talk this out and look at the company, you'll find that you have to really sit down and run through a list of questions, look at the potential growth of the product, the company, and figure out whether or not you want to do that. An example is going to be my forums. My forums are run in a cloud because the demand is exponential versus on-prem. I don't have the bandwidth capacity right now in buying it and provisioning it. If my forum gets popular, well, you hit it. I've had this happen a couple times where we get a lot of hits because for one reason or another, it gets shared in my forum, gets shared in another forum, or someone tweets out a link. I get more hits than I would have bandwidth available to self-host it. So I choose to keep it in DigitalOcean, and it's flexible. If the bandwidth goes up, I just pay a bigger bill. They'll take care of it. The site stays up. That's the most important part. So Like I said, it's all factoring that goes into this. Oh, let's see. Yes, Huntress has some very special stuff on there too, so makes a big difference. They're running a cloud native built application that has, I mean, what do they have? Like 700,000 or 800,000 computers, endpoints, 700,000 or 800,000 endpoints, some incredible number, all contacting a server. Running that on-prem means building your own data center. So that's that is it's not really, if of the venture capital they have, a lot of it's going to go to their compute bill, not to building a data center. It's just not practical for them. Part of being a green building. That's actually true. For the bike riding people, that I've looked into some of the green building stuff. It's kind of interesting because my friend is building. He's looking at expanding his business and building a new building. Because this is one of the weird challenges right now because of the way tax incentives work. If for those of you that dig into the business side of things, the tax incentives don't favor buying existing buildings. The taxes are incentivized for you to build a new building and get a tax break. But that new building then has to have these other requirements. So why do I even bring up tax incentives? Well, here's where that gets complicated. The tax incentives are because if you look at the taxes on some of these buildings, they go from cap to uncap here. What uncapped taxes are is that means when you buy the building and it changes ownership, the city doesn't have these rules grandfathering in previous owners, so they uncap the taxes, and that can be double. Taxes on this strip mall are uncapped, are over like $20,000 annually. So there's this massive swing you get in that. So this is why some people look at the new buildings, but then when you build a new building, to get the tax incentive, you have to build it green, like Willie said. Everything is often more complicated than people want to really think into. It is not a bad thing. It's just one of those. This is why it's so hard to be simplistic on some things. What else do we got here? Is there a way to force FreeNAS to use 80%? Only if you want to destroy your ZFS. I really don't recommend that. It's not a matter of force. I believe it works. It works up till 90% before it actually locks. And once it goes into read-only mode, I don't believe you can take it out. ZFS is a copy-on-write file system. And ZFS. I highly recommend to get in, if you really want to dig into why ZFS is amazing, FreeBSD Mastery ZFS IT Mastery book. So Michael Lucas is a friend, and he didn't just write the book on ZFS. The guy wrote 2. And if that ain't enough, also read his book on SSH Mastery, another amazing book by Michael Lucas. But anyways, ZFS is a copy-on-write file system. Therefore, you need to have enough room to do the copy-on-write functionality of it as you write data to it. So in order to do that effectively, you need to have free space on the drive. So that's a real important aspect of when you're designing these. So don't plan your capacity going, well, I need 1 petabyte of data, but I have 80% of it already allocated. You need to build it bigger then. Oh, complication from the government is certainly a bad thing. Everything's complicated, not just the government. It's just like the cloud answer. Everyone wants a simple answer for everything. They want one politician to save their day. They want one solution to all of their problems, and life is much more nuanced than that. It's not a bad thing. It's just something that as you try to solve any problem at scale, you realize it's a problem at scale. So, and there's no perfect system. I wish there was, but yeah. So it's one of those silly things that it's yeah, it's complicated. It's not easy to get a whole bunch of people working together. It's not impossible either. It's not a dim outlook or a jaded view. It's just, hey, these problems are more complicated to solve. But in the overall, when you read things, you look at the overall arch of human history, things are getting better. We are, calamity included, bringing everything forward and making society better overall. So that's the one thing that is for certain. No, I don't use Sophos XG. So my only experience has been people who hate it because they've had problems with it. I just don't use it. And one of my first complaints, anyone who wants, and let me look if Sophos has changed this, because this is where I call BS. I don't care for companies that do this. Get pricing. Oh, look, we got to email them. Get a no obligation quote. Thanks, guys. I submitted my email. Now I should get a bunch of spam from you guys. Why can't you put pricing on things? Why is this complicated for companies? This is something that makes me mad about them. And this is why I almost have a refusal for companies that just wait, we're not putting pricing anywhere. You have to call us or our sales guys can drive you crazy. No, I've had enough of that. Yeah. I have more than one email. I have actually numerous email addresses. By the way, and I forgot to mention at the beginning, I delete so many emails people send me. Hey, Tom, can you help me for free with something? I get all these weird emails from people. Yeah. So I spend part of my morning just going through delete any ones that most of them go to the Tom address. And I'm like, oh, yeah, these aren't the business people that know me. So there's so much random crap. But hey, what are you going to do? Well, I need to get going on what I have to do. There's a reason I did this early in the morning because I have a lot to do this afternoon, and I got to go get that process kicked off and started very shortly here. Well, part of it too is this. Can I hold? I guess my phone can see that. I'm waiting for my Tesla to charge, so it's at. I could look at the app on my phone and see how the car's going. Anyways, but yeah, Sophos XG, one, I don't use it. Two, we've taken it out. People have complained about it. I know and this is the common thing, and I just don't know. VPNs. And people told me it's just being configured wrong, et cetera, et cetera. That's fine. This problem is usually what we run into. And it's a lot of forum posts about this. I don't know why. And we didn't solve it. We just replaced it more than once. So I just don't know. But I know a lot of people seem to have a problem with it being slow. And they also don't like the fees. I didn't ask them how much they were paying for it. They said, I don't like paying for it and it's slow. So we've actually taken out a handful of Sophos for clients. So I don't really have a plan on using it. It's just not my thing. If we're going to use something like that, we use Untangle. That's one of the reasons I have Untangle videos. People go, I want that full UTM with all the dashboard and everything else. I say, just go Untangle. They have all those features. So, thank you from San Diego. Loving all the videos. Awesome. Yeah, emailing Tom Catfax. Yep, that happens. I don't like the interface for Sophos. I didn't care for it much, but that's a preference. I would not make that the thing you hang it on. Yeah, it's a pretty dashboard, but a pretty useless dashboard. That's the way I would describe it. It just doesn't give much information. UniFi pretty dashboards. Not very useful dashboards, but certainly pretty dashboards. I thought about doing a video on that. I hate to just bash on them, but we've had clients that we had someone contact the other day. They were talking about just how they liked the dashboard, but they couldn't make any actionable intelligence of it. And I said, I know. That was I told them too. I know. It's like there's a lot in this, but I'm like, there is. I don't know what to say about it other than I know. Actually, I'm going to pull up one of the dashboards as a laugh here because I'll rant about it right now. It's maybe someone from UniFi is watching and can answer. Maybe one of you. I'll crowdsource this question here on the UniFi dashboard. Let me drag it over here. So here's the Dream Machine dashboard, right? Let me shrink so I'm not blocking any of it. So here's the UniFi dashboard, 1.87 gigs of traffic. Let's look at the users. Let's look at this right here. So we have 1.8 gig up and 36 gig down for this Galaxy S10, but there's 1.8 gig of traffic here. How am I supposed to build actionable intelligence when there's no real good breakdowns? Am I missing and I just can't find them? It just doesn't give you like a cool, hey, what was the data usage for the last 5 days? And why doesn't it match? And why does it say 1.87 gig? Matter of fact, it's obvious they're using more data than that just by looking at some of this. There's not, as you dig into the traffic stats, it's just kind of missing information. Like it doesn't give you concise info about where things are. And when you try to look at, okay, cool, this doesn't even add up to the, let's look at the down. Oh, does it not sortable? This doesn't even add up to the amount of traffic here. It was streaming media. Okay. Streaming media. And as more things go to pulling from using the QIC protocol, that makes them blinder to it because it's all UDP. So doing DPI on that becomes very, very difficult. It's just so, it's pretty, but I don't know how you're supposed to get actionable intelligence out of this. Am I just ranting and wrong about this? You can't install Untangler or pfSense on USG hardware. I wonder if they plan to ever put functionality into there. I don't know. Oh, back to the server on those. The servers, no, just SSDs. Matter of fact, if you're a home user, I'm going to comment on this too. Let's go over here to eBay. Granted, these are not going to be your 12 gig SAS, but look at the prices on these. 400 gig SAS SSDs. So, you know, it's some pretty fast stuff here. They're going for like $75. So you can build for a home lab. This is, you know, not something I'm going to say for really enterprise, but prices have really come down on these. So you can build a server reasonably fast with some SSDs to build out your home lab with with a nice backplane on it for pretty cheap now. The prices have really come down. And if we go to something modern, like a 12 gig SAS backplane, these are not crazy expensive either. Refurbished Seagate's right here, which this is probably Seagate recertified product, 400 gig MLC, 12 gigs on the backplane, $69. I mean, the prices just keep coming down on these. So you can build these out there. So if you get something like this that has a 12 gig backplane like the 630 does, they're going to sell you a lot of new drives in this. So if you look at the storage prices, they're a lot of times going to be based on new. You can get these 15K SAS drives, which, are nice, or these MLC ones, but you can see that's going to eat up a huge amount of price. Or you can say no and just get some caddies, have them put all the drive caddies in there so you don't have to hunt them down, and build this server out with your own drives used because you want to build it for your home server. And if your home server, maybe you don't want to buy something quite this high end, but you kind of get the idea. You can build these out for a pretty reasonable price. We got Yoopers and West Michigan people. Awesome. And they're not all Michiganders in here, but there's probably a couple of you. People from the UK and everything else. I like functional ways. Very functional ways to manage things. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be command line. It just has to be very actionable. And like pfSense is easy, but for SolarWinds, the way their dashboard works, I mean, it's a UI. We do a lot of our MSP management through SolarWinds, but the UI is really easy to manage, so we like it. It's just my rant on this is how do I derive actionable intelligence without statistics that tell me things like, time. Like I should be able to say, show me this user over this time, where they went to, so I can create some actionable intelligence. This is just pretty dashboards without actionable intelligence. Cool, we got vague DPI data. The only thing interesting is if I do this, it does tell me that YouTube was the majority of it. Web file transfer, which by the way is weird. We have 14 gigs of that, 14 gigs of this. HTTP over SSL, 13 gigs. Cool. Overwatch. Yep. She does play Overwatch, so we got 4.4 gigs was Overwatch. But how is that actionable intelligence? That's my point. This is my daughter's computer. I know she plays Overwatch, so, but the other stuff is very vague. That's a lot of the problem. And when you look at the phone, this is her phone, same thing. MP4, 11 gigs. In case you didn't know, I know what this is. She watches a lot of TikTok. We were talking about this, and this is TikTok. It just shows up as MP4. Once again, a lack of actionable intelligence, but boy, look at the colors. It's like a rainbow of useless information. I have videos on virtualizing pfSense and XCP-ng, where you can virtualize it in lots of things. But it's 9:30 and I have to get going and rolling, so I will talk at you later. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you for joining me. Smash that like button before you leave because there's 206 concurrent viewers, but only 34 likes. Can you see that? Can we get those likes up before I press end stream? Can we get those likes up? How are we doing on those likes? Keep bashing them to lead to good things. I'm not going to speculate. Look, I like the company when it comes to Wi-Fi. We keep buying and deploying their Wi-Fi. I just don't know why they don't put the resources into the USG. I mean, it's like a cool base to get started. Why not extend it? I don't know. I have no way of, I don't have an insight. I don't run the company. So they do what they do. And this is like any company. It's a free market. We will choose products based on, what they choose to do and how they choose to implement things. And we will drop products if they don't do things that we can follow along with. So. And UMG for future. They had that announcement on there that they're going to be doing the UMG. I don't know nothing about it. It's a pre-release product, so we don't talk about that on the YouTube, but I don't know. Cool. Hope it has all the features. That's all I have to say about it. People ask, what do I think? Nothing until it's out and deployed. Once it becomes general available, then I'll talk about it. They even say we're asking for feature requests. Go fill out your feature requests. Community feedback is huge. That's how these companies build better products, is through community feedback. And of course, they look at the bottom line. No one's buying our product. Why aren't they buying it? It doesn't have the features people want. Okay, that's a business decision. Do we put the features we want in there and make the product better, or whatever? Yeah, technically it's in dev right now, not early access. That would be more correct. But you get the idea. This is why they're asking for feedback. They want to know what to do. Cool. Let them know what to do. Tell them. Give them some feedback. Give them some suggestions. Tell them you want more than rainbow of colors. You would like some actionable intelligence on there. With some filters to say, when did this data occur? What is the time frame? Those seem like pretty simple numbers. All right. Thank you for joining. I will see you guys next time. Have a fun day. I got to get to doing what I'm supposed to be doing today, which is going to occupy the rest of my day, which means I did this in the morning instead of the afternoon because I'm going to be tired when I'm done doing all the stuff I got running around today and visit clients and all that happy stuff. All right. And thanks.